The wall is a good window into the life of the city because of the way different elements intersect with it, because of the way it intersects with the landscape, because of the way it is related to, for example, the city grid. And because, as I say, it's a very, very large monument, and in a way there's more of it to study than of other things. 155 wide.
We are recording each kind of large section of the curtain wall that surrounded the city, also any towers that existed along it, and there's a number of other kind of smaller scale defensive structures, jogs in the wall that would just provide a kind of strafing angle at the side of the wall to keep it safe, large platforms either for viewing or to, again, provide a kind of base for defensive action.
Many cities in the region were fortified in a brief span of time at the end of the 4th century BC and the beginning of the 3rd century BC. And it happened very quickly, and as I say, suddenly walls started popping up in many places. This is a tower. See this wall? Alex is going to the other corner that projects in this direction. If you can see over there, there's the line of the fortification.
Felipe Rojas and Alex Marco have finished a very exhaustive description of each section of the wall, each tower. They took some time this summer to go and look at the fortifications of other sites to put the walls of Notion in context. So we have a pretty good understanding of the initial construction phase of the walls, and then also of the various repairs that were made in later periods.
We can learn a little bit about the types of buildings that existed in Notion from the reuse of spolia, of blocks from other buildings that were inserted into the fortification in the process of repair. A few dozens of meters from here, there is a section of the wall that has several blocks of very, very fine marble that presumably came from a building such as a temple or another sort of structure that no longer is extant in the city. And yet the blocks tell us that it existed. So this part of the wall has been reconstructed because the original wall was built of stones that are more like this one. And as you can see, there are bits of architectural blocks that have been embedded after the original construction. And this has served as a gate, and you can see a few of the steps that were made. I think it's a moment of certainly of political instability, but to a certain amount of sort of anxiety that people felt they needed walls, that a wall was also part of being a city, but that cities needed walls to protect themselves from political and military threats. This had huge implications, I think, for life in Notion, because suddenly you can only penetrate the city through a few gates. Suddenly your city, which is visible both from land and sea, has this enormous monument that is more conspicuous than almost anything else except whatever lies at the very top of the ridge. And suddenly you're projecting this sense of community whose main sort of emblem is an emblem of defense.